Dave knows how.
Okay, so let's update where we're at on this hydraulic tilt link. Last part of the video, we cut this piece out of this piece of plate steel, and we've gone on and we've bored a hole in it. We machined 2 shims to go in between here to take up any slack it might be there, and we put the pin in. Okay, and so what we're going to do is we're going to weld that ball on here somewhere where we don't know exactly where yet, and then once we get it welded where it's going to go, we'll cut the rest of this tail piece off. Down on the bottom here, where this thing hooks to the lower lift arm, they've got a piece of metal down there. It's kind of shaped like a U shape. So I was looking at that, and I was able to find a piece of scrap metal laying around here. It's pretty thick, and I had a heck of a time getting it to bend, but hey, look at there. We got it. We got it bent. It's pretty much bent exactly like the one that's on there. We're gonna, whack this off, of course, and we got to bore a hole through this thing all the way through both sides so we can put the pin through. But this is going to mount on this end of this. This is what came on the end of here, and it screws up on there. So what I'm thinking is that we'll chuck this up in the lathe in there and maybe machine this off, or saw this off and then weld this to it. And then that way we can screw it on and screw it off, and we'll have a little bit of adjustability there if we need it. I don't think we're going to need it, but we'll have a little bit if we do need it. So anyway, that's where we're at on this thing, and it's actually, coming together pretty good, I think. Now if we get this cut off, we can weld that right on there like that. Anyhow, I think that's going to be the next part I'm going to do is cut this off across here. Either chuck it up in the lathe and cut it, or just take it and cut it with something. I don't know what. Cut it with something. And of course, we got to drill at least 1 hole through here, maybe 2. The one that's on there has 2. It has a high setting and a low setting. And it might be worthwhile to, drill 2 holes in here. We'll just look on there and see how far apart they are and do it like that. But it's coming together. It's a little slow. I did go get some hose to screw into here to hook this thing up, but I only had 1 connector, so I've got to go get another connector. And I think I'm going to order a locking valve to put in line on this thing, so it'll hold it. And I'm probably going to order one for that top link too. And I'm debating whether to see, this is kind of loose, Ideally, I was hoping to make it so that this flat piece would go flat down against there and really kind of lock this thing in place, but it just didn't pan out that accurately. So, well, one thing that screwed me up was the original cylinder that I bought had an 8-inch stroke, and after getting into this thing, which was after I cut this out and drilled the hole, I decided 8-inch stroke was too much. So I went down the next size to a 6-inch stroke. That should give me 3 inches up and 3 inches down. So anyway, I went with a 6-inch stroke. They didn't have a 4. I was kind of looking for a 4-inch stroke, but they didn't have a 4, so we're gonna go with the 6-inch stroke, and hopefully it'll work out all right. You know how these things go. You know, you trial and error. You just kind of learn as you go along on some of this stuff. So anyway, I guess next stop is whack this off and weld this to that. We're gonna have to clean this up. I gotta let it cool down. It's still pretty hot, man. I mean, I really had to put the torch on this thing and heat this thing up good. You can see the discoloration of that thing. Well, she was cherry red, and then I had to build a die to go in here to go on my bender back there, and it took every bit of strength I had to get it bent. But it's a little dog leg, but it's not too bad actually, considering. It's a little dog leg, but it's not. I think we can manage it. I think we can make it work. So anyway, let's get on to the next part. We'll take some measurements on this piece and mark the holes so we can drill them, cut this off and get it ready so that we can weld this to that. And I'll update you as quick as I can. Okay, so we got this thing welded up on there. That's the end that screws onto that cylinder. And we just kind of chopped the ears off of it with the grinding wheel. Put it in the chop saw, chopped it off, and took the piece of metal, piece of steel that we bent and welded it on here, and I think we got enough weld on there that that thing ain't gonna go nowhere. And looking at the one that's on there, it's kind of angled, so I know this thing probably looks like it's on there lopsided, but I put it on there purposely like that because that's how the one is that's on there. I guess it's so that it'll fit down across the lower lift arm and the holes line up right. So hopefully I hit the angle right. We'll find out when I go to put it on there, I guess. Right now the thing is so hot you can't touch it. So I've been welding on it and putting a lot of filler rod in there. I had a pretty big gap, so anyway, that's where we're at now. So this piece is threaded. Ooh, and it's gonna screw right on the end of here. I'll probably just take some red spray paint and shoot some red spray paint or black. I'm gonna do black. I don't know. Ain't made up my mind yet. The red that I have probably will not match this cylinder. And rather than have two different shades of red, I might be just as well off to paint this black and paint this other piece that I made right here, paint that black, and then it'll just contrast with that red and won't look like two different shades of red. It'll be red and black. So probably the next thing I'll do is, after this cools down, I'll screw it up on there and go over there and see if it's going to actually bolt through. I got a feeling I'm going to have a little bit of trouble with it because it's not quite squeezed in enough. I probably should have made it. I probably should have made the die. I had to build a die to bend this thing. I made it 1 inch because that's what the other one measured, was 1 inch. I probably should have made it a little less than 1 inch to allow for springing of the steel, because I bent it and the steel springs back. And I can stick it in the vise and crank down on it while it's hot and it'll go in, but as soon as I crank it, it comes right back out again. So only problem will be is the pin that holds this on, that goes through these holes, may not be long enough. So may have to either make a new pin, or if I can buy a pin that's a little longer, I could put a grade 8 bolt in it too. You know, that'd work just as good probably. Anyhow, this is where I'm at. Just wanted to update a little bit. Hope this thing works like I want it to. Been putting this off forever, you know. Just couldn't make up my mind if I wanted to buy one already made, pay $400 for it, or do this, fabricate one up myself. So if I have problems with the cylinder, this will be the better way to go, because it's got my parts and I can unscrew them and put them on another cylinder and just go buy another cylinder for 99 bucks instead of having to buy the whole thing all over again, or, you know, rebuild the cylinder, you know, if it's rebuildable. But, you know, sometimes they're not rebuildable. Sometimes, you know, the housing gets cracked or the piston gets cracked or something and not rebuildable. So anyway, lots of fun today. Let this cool down, and then we'll do a dry fit and see how it's going to line up. Okay, so here we go. We went on and welded that piece on there and taped it up so we could paint it up. And let's see what it looks like. I just roughly taped it off around the top here. Went on and painted these ears on here that used to be red like that. Went on painting them black because we welded this in place so that this thing ain't slopping around like that. We go over here and get the bottom part. Okay, so here's the bottom part. We painted that up. Got it welded on, looks good. We ground the sides off a little bit on each side so that we had enough clearance to get this all the way through and get the pin in it. So that worked out good. So we're going to go ahead and screw this up on here. All the way. Let's go ahead and take this over there, mount it up on the tractor. You know what? Before we do that, one thing I do want to show. Because this is something that I did not show in the video, and I really wanted to show this. This piece up here, this swivel ball, this whole housing piece, I bought this at Tractor Supply and welded it on here. Okay, this fits it's got a 3/4 inch bore, so it fits that top lift arm. And the way I got the position to weld this at was, I hooked the hydraulic lines up, plugged them in, I drew the cylinder all the way in, took a measurement to the end of this without this end piece on there. Then I extended it all the way out, took another measurement. Then I figured out exactly where the travel was. Is it exactly 6 inches of travel? And it was exactly 6 inches of travel. So extended all the way out, and then I retracted it in 3 inches, half the distance, 3 inches. Then I screwed this in on here, and then using the lower hole, because I put 2 sets of holes in here. I put a set here and a set here. They're 1 inch apart, exactly like the one on the opposite side has 2 holes, and they're 1 inch apart. Then I measured, I've got that one set in the lower hole, and I measured from the center of the top link pin that goes into here down to the top of this that goes through this hole, and I seen what my measurement is. I think it was 17 3/4 inches, and then with this set 3 inches in, I measured from the top of here to the center of here, and I set this at, so that this would hit at 17 3/4 of an inch. I marked it on this piece of metal, the fresh forward end and the back end, and then took it in the shop and welded it in place. That should get me close enough. You know, that should get me within probably 1/4 of an inch by the time it's all mounted to the tractor. So I just wanted to share how I came up with where to weld this piece onto here at. That's how I did it. Tried to video it, but it's so hot out here that the camera overheated, and it just shut the camera off. You know, everything overheated. My phone even overheated. I had my phone sitting out here. I went to use the phone, and it said, had a message on the screen, phone is overheated. So it shut the whole phone off, everything, shut the cameras off, everything. That's how hot it is out here, man. It is hot. Let's take this over to the tractor and mount it up. Let's jump over there and check it out. Okay, so this top piece slips on here. Put the pin back in. We're going to go ahead and hook these up. We'll start the tractor and we'll retract that up in there. a little tight because we got paint in the hole, I think. There we go. And we'll put the pin in. Okay. And now this. Let's go back in here. Okay, it's mounted on there. So let's go ahead and raise it up and make sure we got nothing interfering, nowhere, no clearance issues. So it doesn't look like anything's hitting anything. Everything looks good. Bring you in a little closer and you can maybe see how that lands. So you can see this thing comes up, it just misses all this. It doesn't hit anything in the back here. So all that looks good. The hoses aren't in the way of anything, and it doesn't hit any of this. So that looks good. All right, so let's try the tilt and see how it tilts. So we got tilt that way. We got tilt that way. So she tilts pretty good. You know what? I don't see anything wrong with that at all. Now, one of the things that I think I will be doing with this is I think I'm going to add a locking valve on the side link and the top link, and to you know, just to lock it in position so that it doesn't settle down, you know, over a period of time. Because that's one of the problems that you have with these things is, you know, it will settle down. It leaks past the hydraulic valve, and that part can be cured with a locking valve. What can't be cured with the locking valve is when the cylinder itself leaks internally from one side of the piston to the other, it can leak, and that will cause, you know, your cylinder to change position. So anyway, I haven't ordered the locking valve yet, the load locking valve. I started to order it the other night, but I wanted to make sure everything was going to work out like it's supposed to before I went and spent another, you know, $100 a piece. I need 2 of them, so that's $200. And I need a couple of fittings, and I'll need 4 more pieces of hose, because I'm not gonna mount it right to the cylinders like on a lot of the ones that I see are mounted right to the cylinder. Probably what I'm just gonna do is mount it within the line, so it may be hanging out here free floating somewhere. You know, if that's the case, you know, hey, that's the case. It's just, you know, how it's gonna be. And it's not going to hurt my feelings none to have it kind of free floating out here. And then that way, if this cylinder goes bad, all I've got to do is go buy a new cylinder, unscrew the hoses, screw them back in a new cylinder, grind these welds off right here on this particular one, and knock the pin out and replace the cylinder only. I already have the adapter and everything built for this thing to work. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. I'm hoping that this doesn't go on to be, I don't know how many series long, because I haven't gone back and looked at the footage. I was trying to get it done, but you know, it seemed like every time I videoed, the camera would crash because it's just so blasted hot out here, man. It is hot. You wouldn't believe how hot it is. Well, some of y'all would believe it because it's hot where you're at too, but man, it's been ungodly hot here. Today it's supposed to pour down raining. It's hot as blue blazes out here, but it's getting ready to rain, so it's overcast. The sun's not beating down on me, so I was able to get away with a little bit of footage today, so I figured I'd better get on it while I could. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys that haven't subscribed will consider subscribing to my channel.
Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.